Hi, all. Welcome to another episode of Saturday Architecture. I was at a conference last week, and one of the toughest questions in a panel, which came from the audience, was how do I deal with the DDoS attack of information and new tools and changing things? Was this problem there? It was there. It was there for the past 3 decades. It's just that it has accelerated exponentially. Like previously, when I started in 90s, the new information is when a new book was published, like Code Complete, if you guys remember, right? A new book came, yeah, you got something. Or when a new software came, you installed it, the help that came with us. That was the only new information. There was no concept of a blog also. It is only the manuals that came with the software and the help along with that. Okay. And probably somebody published a book on that software, which will usually come 2 months, 3 months later. That's the best case scenario. Okay. Software comes, 2 months later, somebody publishes a book on that. You read these two, you are fine. So you had close to 8 months, 1 year to read the book and do that and get ready. Okay. Then it got accelerated. You started having online help and blogs. And then towards 2004, 2005, things changed drastically. The thought of releasing software and document itself became online, like TechNet and other things. The information will get uploaded to TechNet first, and then it will come into the product documentation. I mean, it changed accelerated even further. Today, we are in a state where even before a product is released or as soon as it is released, you have Instagram rules, you have YouTube shorts, you have YouTube videos, you have blogs, you have people talking about it. Not only us, there are so many podcasters today, right? They're telling their own things, right? So it's a massive information, and not to discount every IT service company telling, hey, this is how you use AI and this is the technology, right? Leads from product makers to service. So essentially, it's a DDoS attack on everyone. Okay. So we'll start with the simplest of scenarios and this thing, right? I'll start with Sesh is simple because he's outside the corporate world. He's outside the tech business per se and ex-techie, we can actually say, from a professional perspective. Now, from him, what does he see? How does he keep? Obviously, we want to use technology to give value. We don't want to get lost of it, correct? So, what do you see? How do you keep up? Or you can't keep up, but how do you stay in the game? Mute, you're on mute.
Thanks, Kumaran. Actually, this question is like little for me because for the new listeners, I quit my job in March, and for the last 3-4 months in the job, I was starting to use AI quite a bit. But after I quit, I started using Claude Code and this basically the coding AI extremely regularly, like I multiple times a day, Claude Code, whatnot, right? But then about maybe by end of June, when the school year ended here in the US, I've had other summer commitments and vacations and stuff like that, so I haven't used. So it's been probably, let's say, 4 to 5 weeks. I don't feel like I've missed out on much, right? On the other hand, while I was actively following, it felt like if you don't log into LinkedIn for a couple of days and not keep up with the headlines, it felt like the world would have moved past. But after a while, you obviously I stopped doing it, but now I've slowly started getting back. I don't feel like I've missed. There were a few stories like this. I think OpenAI, something got out of the box and started hacking Hugging Face. There were a few other stories, and the Fable came in, they blocked, they released. There were a few stories, but I don't feel like I missed out on much. And as I was thinking about the question, I think it goes back to the same story, right? Once you get a good sense of the fundamentals, and then your experience, your knowledge, and whatnot to guess where things are going, it doesn't feel like you have to keep up with every little bit of information. It's like if you're traveling from one place to another in the city, obviously there are key points that you have to know, but I don't think humans will watch directions every minute. Not how do you say? You don't watch directions every 100 meters, right? You know that, okay, when there is this big bridge comes, I should go under the bridge. Or when I hit this fork, I have to take left. I think those are, if you think about it, those are fundamentals, right? So I think even in AI, you can, that's what I feel. But then I right now have the luxury of not working in a workplace, right? If I was in the office, then if I went into a meeting and then four people are talking about something with a lot of buzzwords, I would be extremely anxious that I'm left out because I don't know if there is something else is there. Suddenly, maybe that's what my VP is talking about. Then I don't want to feel left out. But keeping that aside, I think fundamentally, you just have to rely on your sense of understanding of the basics and then your knowledge to say that, hey, I'm going to be all right as long as I, when I updated myself, I updated properly.
I think that's a good metaphor about city and traffic, right? The routes are pretty much going to be the same. Maybe there's a new one way or something got one way, a new signal got introduced, a new stop sign got introduced. And you might have been walking or using a bike and you're switching on to a car or within a car from a Suzuki to a BMW or a Ferrari. Obviously, each one responds differently. You are in the signal. If you had a motorcycle, you will rev it. You can't press it the same way with Ferrari because you'll go and hit the guy on the opposite side, or you have to slow down much quicker. But the fundamentals of signals and other things. And the other point which you said is the fear of missing out, right? Or missing out on opportunities of being a knowledgeable person in the corporate world. That pressure is not there. But the fundamentals is important, right? What is happening, what's coming in, what's going in out. And what you're suggesting is like do a mapping of what the changes are and try to keep fitting that it's you really don't feel that lost that much. I think for me, the role that I have is I'm in and out. I'm probably in the boundary of a corporate world where I have I have my own setup which is completely free. I have all the tools which is accessible. Use Microsoft and corporate tools. Work with customers at different levels, medium businesses, large businesses. Each has their own constraints. So for me, definitely, it's a the pressure is a little different or the expectation is a little different that customers would like to have a conversation with me. Hey, we got this new tool coming in. How are we using it? And I need to be able to talk about it to them. It's a little more because is ChatGPT good or Claude CoWork good? Those kind of questions is there. So it becomes a little more trickier because I have to have a look at all these things and give a sense of where they are headed and what they should try. And it's a little more responsibility, right? And the irony is, it's not that I have the right answer. Is Claude work good? Or so it'll be like a typical consultant answer. It depends. Your mileage might vary, and then I keep talking. But I think for me, it is a mixture of the market wants. Like we are all into trading, right? It's not a choice of what stock or what script you like. Okay, it is a question of what script the market likes. Now it's up to you to bet on it and make money kind of a thing. So I have that part going. And then there is traditional value investing of what I think is a good technology and what I want to build something on. So I split times between my learning time priorities between both. So depending on the requests from the customers, I say, okay, let me pick up on something like that. For example, Claude CoWork has come, and then now I'll have to play around with. By the way, Deepak, congratulations! You also managed to release Notebook in Office 365. So now that has become my next week project where I'll have to play with Notebook in Copilot, have a comparison with Notebook in Gemini, and then see what this does. How is Notebook in Copilot compared to you attaching a document? What other benefits could you get? So like that, it keeps happening. And then on the personal thing, I have certain scenarios and I say, I'm going to use this tech and what are the new changes that's coming. Example with Codex, there is this record and play feature that's on my pending list. I haven't had time to check it out. It's different from computer use where, and then even within Claude Code and in Claude Code Desktop specifically and Codex, there is a thing which says that you record something and you talk to it and it creates a skill. That's a useful thing. It's something in between an RPA and a pure browser-based automation kind of a thing. So I split it between what I could do, personal use, personal productivity. Now, it could be, if it was my team, it would be what my team can use versus what the customer pull is, right? Split it between this and that. It's roughly like 50-50 for me, what the customers want and what I want, and make a triage kind of a thing, make a note of that. When the time opens up, pick one of them, read about it, try it, and get familiar. What is your approach?
First, I'll talk about how we see the customers actually using it, and then how it has evolved from thing of curiosity to thing of daily use. So I think in general, customers are still struggling with to find out what is the right tool to use for the right use case, right? Now, of course, we as the technology world, we have also not making things easy by releasing things so rapidly that people are struggling to find out whether I should use Copilot, I should use Copilot in Word, or I should use something else. I should use it in Word, or I should use it in Excel, right? So, like everything, we provide 10 different ways to do the same thing. So, people are still struggling to find out where it works the best for them, right? So that's something which will, I believe, continue. That is the nature of our technology world, right? New things come, people have to struggle to find out, and that's where still people like me have a role to play, where we facilitate adoption of such technologies and making it contextual for customers, putting them into scenarios and so on, right? So that people are able to relate to how this technology works in their context, right? So that part of technology adoption is still very relevant, right? So people cannot work everything out by themselves. They need support. They need help either by training or by somebody sitting with them or attending a session. All those traditional things which we used to call them, right? You have to do a classroom training, or you have to attend a webinar, or you have to see some video. All those things still make sense because how people are learning today, right? If you need to do something, first thing you'll do is show me YouTube video of somebody's talking about this thing. Right? Exactly the same way, the knowledge dissemination still is a challenge which we still need to solve on day-to-day basis, right? So people are no longer scared of it. My prediction has been that within a few years, you will find that it is no different from using Excel and Word and PowerPoint and say, okay, AI is just one of the tools on my desktop, which I will use it for some purpose, right? So that level of familiarity is a little bit away from us, but I see that we are approaching it because nobody thinks that they're doing anything extraordinary by talking to Copilot or Gemini or anything. This is what everybody does, right? So this is no longer a novelty in that sense, right? It is expected, right? So on the personal thing, I also, in the work which my team does, of course, we are in the technology adoption world, but we also need to adopt technology to do our work. And that's where we also have to keep up with them. First is, of course, we have to explain how this technology works. But then when we need to apply to ourselves, right? When we are trying to discover use cases or finding out things, again, we are using AI to facilitate our work, right? And then we discover new things like, okay, first there was, okay, we'll write the good prompts and we'll have a prompt library. Then it moved on to let's build agents and have them all those. Instead of having a long prompt in your prompt library, you will have an agent will do the same thing. And then now we say, okay, now we should have skills, right? So there's a progression. In a way, it is moving not that rapidly because moving from prompts to agents to skills, it is nearly 2 years. right? It's nearly 2 years it took to reach this place. So I would say that the pace has been blinding for that progression to happen. Because if you think about it, 2.5, 3 years ago, prompting came, that still lives. That people still do prompting, they just still do work with that. But one thing I noticed was the level of prompting which you needed initially, you no longer need it, right? The whole context of think like systems engineer and do this thing. You don't always need to do that anymore with the recent launches of the dumber the prompt, the better the output. That is what I'm seeing, that it actually fills in the blanks much better than. So the technology is improving. It is becoming more and more commoditized, right? The race between the LLMs is shorter in the sense that it is how long does anybody have a lead over their model, right? Today it is Anthropic, then tomorrow it's OpenAI, and then the Chinese models come in very quickly and catch up within 1 month, right? So now people are thinking, do I need to keep switching when all these models updates are happening? Now the focus has shifted around how I think the word they use is harness, right?
So I
How do I build around this thing so that I can get this
actually,
output from it?
it's like double clicking on what you're telling, right? Let's say there are three types of personas in the enterprise. One is the uh, knowledge workers or the dev, right? Then there is the tech leads or the team leads, and then there are senior execs. If you had to wear the role hat of each of them,
Yeah.
how should they handle this DDoS attack on them? Basically, handling between what is useful and how should they go about looking for learning and knowing. See, it's the given that they have to.
Yes.
Is it obviously it's not going to be the same way the three roles personas is going to look at.
Yeah.
So if you start with, let's say, execs for execs, right? What would you think would be the best way they can approach?
I think, and this applies across the board. I will not say this is something specific to, yeah, Sesh, go ahead, please.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, Sesh, this is a valid point. And 2 years ago, I was presenting at a very large manufacturing organization, and they had 300 people in the room. And the CIO actually came on the stage, and he said something which I really liked. Is he told all these, and these are not technology people, right? These are all regular manufacturing job people working in offices related to things other than technology. Technology is just a tool for them. He said very important thing. He said, we know this is imperfect technology. We know that this is not, and this is of course 2.5 years ago, 2 years ago, where things were not perfect, right? And he mentions this, we want you to explore and try using it, right? We know that you may not get the best output for it, but this is the future. We want you to be involved with it, right? So we have gone past that stage. We are very much now at a stage where you can really make use of it in their day-to-day life. And coming to your question, Kumaran, from the grounds level person perspective, or either for that matter, from all levels perspective, people have to think from the context of what they need to accomplish, right?
Hmm.
It's never about the technology in that case, right? If they're able to figure out, okay, and that's the approach which we do for finding out use cases. Okay, what do you really do, and where is this technology going to remove some pain for you, right? Typical technology adoption approach is, if this technology is not doing something which is not removing your pain or not helping you do something faster, better, cheaper, you should not be doing it anyway, right? So when they find this thing, okay, we can show you the capabilities, right? We can show you that this can do all these things and give you some example use cases. You have some videos, all these things. But finally, it has to dawn on that person, oh, I can do this as part of my job. Now, at the ground level, it could be, oh, I don't need to do this thing manually. I can just run AI on top of it, it'll give me the result, and then I can work with it, right? So that is as simple as that, whatever the job is. Right. For the middle management and the people who've been around for a little longer, have more experience, it becomes a little bit making them more independent of their juniors. Right. So right now, a person who earlier would depend on somebody else to generate a report or an analysis for them, and his or her job is actually slowed down because of that, and they cannot do so much work. Right. So if they cannot, and they are basically they used to be less productive than they could be, because they are dependent on a whole set of people to do part of the work which they will consume. That has been short circuited, right? So I don't need somebody to write a SQL query for me, because I'm not current on SQL anymore. But although I'm a vast technology nerd, but now I don't know what the latest SQL command is to make a table or do some of these things. They can get that very quickly done, right? So now they are much more empowered. Now you can say, whether is it reducing the number of people that person is going to hire? Possibly yes, but what I'm seeing increasingly is decreasing the amount of work which that person has. It is actually increased, right? So they are expected to do more, because now you can do 10 things rather than one in the same day, right? Because now you have all these technologies available to you, right? From the exec perspective, what is, they need to have an overview of this thing. And execs are, I believe, the most behind the curve, I would say. That is I would say, a blasphemous statement from their perspective, because most exec would believe that they are actually at the cutting edge and they would want to demonstrate. But all execs are aware that they need to demonstrate that AI is the thing in their organization, right?
Okay.
So if they are under pressure to show that, and they are, sometimes I feel they are the people struggling the most, because they need to be able to demonstrate it, that they are also on board, right? And they are themselves using it. I'm not sure how many of them are successful in demonstrating that. So, yeah.
In this case, what you're talking, I think the key part, again, I think all the things point to one thing. What is my objective as a role, right? And make sure you know enough to learn about that.
Yes.
And Sesh had pinged me separately, and it's one of the things which I'm going to make a statement which we have never done in the calls so far. It's actually something very interesting when you talk about leadership, right? There's one part about the current Tamil Nadu chief minister and government, which I am really genuinely impressed, okay, and inspired, is related to what you just last said. Okay, so it's about, for an exec, they have to know enough to demonstrate value and inspire people. Talking is one thing, but actually leading by execution is another thing altogether. One thing the current CM Vijay is actually doing, which has actually surprised me pleasantly, is something very simple. He turns up at work at 9 o'clock every morning. Okay. And he stays till 5:30. He has a very strict lunch of 1 hour. Okay. Now, All other data, what he does, doesn't do, politics, what it
That's fine.
works, what it
It's
doesn't work. I
demonstration
have
of
no idea. It might work, it might not work. Maybe something is happening. Not ulterior motive could be there, this, that. But one arguable thing from a public perspective is that if he's showing up at office at 9 o'clock, everybody is watching. You cannot cook up him showing up at office at 9.
yes.
Okay. Now, somebody might be very pessimistically say, oh, he's going inside his office room and
And sleeping.
sleeping. I'm fine that even if he does that, right? He's up at 9, locks the room, puts on the AC and goes to sleep.
Yeah.
Exaggerating for a week. Obviously,
Yeah.
that's not happening. People
Yeah.
will know, right? It's not like he's not meeting anybody till after.
Mm.
So the fact is that he turns up at 9 and goes at 5:30. I think it clearly demonstrates something. And the beauty of it is nobody expects any government to be on time.
Exactly.
Okay, it's much
Culture.
beyond
Culture.
it's
Culture
not
eats
even a
strategy for
basic-
breakfast, remember thinking, right?
Yeah, and it's not even a basic expectation. Okay,
Yeah.
so any government, even a peon, you don't expect that you go to office says 9:30. Nobody has any even in their wildest dream that the office will open at 9:30 and somebody will be there. Okay.
Yes.
And the funny thing is, some 8 to 10 years ago, my daughter went to the RTO. Okay.
Yes.
And she went to so I had left her to do something. So she walked into the RTO officers and then she tried to give some form. It says timing over. She said, office is there till 4:30, no office timing. That officer is gone, they said. Okay. So they said, no, the office 4:30. Like, that guy looked at her like alien species.
What is talking
What?
about?
Yeah. What has office timing got to do with the people being there in office? Okay, so I think I just connected it like doing something, right? Now it's like it's not even a talking point whether you should turn up on time, right?
Mhm.
It just sets a standard that hey, you're in office, bare minimum, you got to be in your seat by 9. If the CM can do it,
Why can't he?
why can't you?
Exactly.
You don't have to keep on telling it. It just shows
Exactly.
by action, right?
Exactly.
And it's as a ripple effect. If that person is showing at 9, the chief secretary and the senior guys will show up at 9.
Yeah.
If they show up at 9, all the district guys have to show up at 9
Yes.
because
Yes.
call or something can come.
Yes.
So it creates a ripple effect. Obviously, it will take time, but then that ripple effect will happen.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
No, I think that leadership leading by example applies to the corporate world as much as it applies to the government sector and public sector employees. So people see what their leaders are doing. Right? And yesterday, actually, I was presenting to another set of, they had an employee offsite of a company and they invited us to just talk about AI and things like that. And so the managing director of the company came and met me, says, just excite the people about AI so that they should be concerned about, they should be using it in. And immediately after my session, he did a sort of a demo of a AI who could respond to voice and do an interview. And actually, the demo wasn't that great because the conversation agent which they had built was very restrictive. It could not go beyond certain things. If you ask something irrelevant, it'll just repeat the answer that I do only this and nothing else. He could not. And the thing is that he was able to still show that he's connected and he's trying to bring the technology to the world, although it is imperfect. Right. And I think that those things make a difference.
I think it's a great discussion, right? If I summarize one is about what do I want? I want to learn something, but to do what? I think that's important at odd level. And different personas will have different things, obviously. And I think leadership is not there going to sit and open the engine and crank the shaft and tighten the bolts, but they have to, for them, the primary thing will be about how do people use this as an inspiration. And for all these things, again, there is a personal aspect. As an individual, I do a certain things. what is it that I would want to do and how can I use it? I think it gives a good sense of how not to get overwhelmed with things. And last but not the least, and it's always true, first principles and fundamentals never go away.
Still apply.
Any tool, any method, anything is not a ticket to say, you know what, I don't care about fundamentals, because whether we like it or not, gravity will stay.
Yes. So I think
You can't ignore gravity.
It's about the human mind as well, right? So we have been evolving for millions of years and we are the way we are. It's not going to rapidly change just because one technology got dropped in, right? So human beings have to finally absorb it. As long as machines are talking to machines, whatever is evolving there, that is a whole science fiction by itself. We don't know what is happening there.
Sesh, just I'll make one and then you. Okay. I'll just comment on Sesh's and then Deepak. Okay, got it. I think probably at that part I will do again. And I think to your point, Deepak, that you said, if Hugging Face is going to sue OpenAI, Altman is going to pay the money, not
Yes.
So you are telling as long as agents are talking to agents, it's okay. No, it's not okay. Because
I'm saying I don't even know what is happening there. I'm saying I don't even know what is happening there.
I'm telling the company or the senior person has to pay the bill, right? It's not, oh, my car went and hit the thing. No.
Person has to be there.
See,
responsible,
like let's say I'm driving a vehicle and my brake fails. I'm still liable, no? I cannot say, oh, the brake didn't work, so I'm forgiven from killing a person. It's not. That's a different case altogether. Maybe I'll get a little bit of leeway if I can show that it was not negligence and it was technical fault. But compensation to the victim is not excused because the car's brake did not work and then it cannot be done. Now, how I deal with whoever is the car manufacturer and get something is different. I think the fundamentals, again, as Sesh asked me to double click on that. The fundamental is what? Two things, right? Fundamentally, as a human, I want to be happy, right? Anything that we do, I want to be happy, and I want to be happy in a comfortable way. Okay. Now, whether it's an individual or an organization or a team, this thing applies. Now, what things do I need to do to make this happy? Okay. So, if you come to the software world, the fundamentals is a technology exists again to make people happy and comfortable. Now, whether it's a developer or a team lead or a VP something, again, that's the basic fundamental, right? And as you're telling, if we say learn 3 hours a day, it's going to make uncomfortable. We are defying the fundamental. It's not going to work. Okay, you cannot. Maybe you could request somebody to be uncomfortable for 1% of the time or 2% of the time. Beyond that, the system will revolt. So not arguing with that. And then whether it is AI or not, yesterday we were having a talk with architects and they were talking about a fintech company. And it was the question of the actuaries in the fintech company, the most powerful tool for them is Excel. Okay. Excel. There is no way you're going to make an account and say stop using Excel and start doing it. There are two reasons for that, right? Because when they do Excel, there is a huge amount of comfort because they hit the numbers and they do the sum. Now, when you say use AI, you're making them uncomfortable. Now, the end state is uncomfortable for them. On top of that, you want them to learn something also, which is even more comfortable. Learning, I've lived a certain way for the past 30 years. I have to change my thinking. I have to learn a new skill. And then finally, the end result which I get is also it is 3 levels of discomfort. It is not like just switching to AI. So I think at each level, understanding that basic fundamental of human brain wants easy and what is the objective that we are trying to do. So if it is the fintech actuary that they are trying to use there, they want to make it clear. So how will you make their life comfortable with AI, right? It is something like you're looking at probably something like you're looking at 50 different Excels. I will give you a better way of finding the right two Excels. Probably they'll be willing to try it. Not that, oh, forget about your Excel. I'll give you an agent that will give you the answer to the question. So it's and similarly, let's say at each role, what are they comfortable with, right? How do they become comfortable? I think that's the fundamental thing. If I say human brain wants ease, human brain wants safety, right? And at each persona needs that. And if we keep that in mind, let's say a developer, I see a lot of developers today don't really trust the code developed by it, including me. Both of you are a kind of antithesis to this, right? I am, I still look at the code that is generated. So within this group, there are three different personalities. So I think the fundamental, if you look at it, is that without losing keep the objective in mind, what you want to do at each persona, whether it's an individual or for your team, and make sure that we are moving towards the objective without increasing the discomfort zone too much. Then we can keep progressing. Otherwise, we'll get stuck somewhere.
Before we conclude, I want to acknowledge, Sesh, you inspired me for building, using Claude Code to build something. So I must acknowledge that your idea was great. I got inspired. And last 3 months, I think 6 weeks ago, maybe we talked about it. And now actually I have a full-fledged running application which allows people to work.
Yeah, I think it's worth talking about it a little bit. One, my son, he's interested in quant and things like that. Anyway, he's doing that as a part of his learning. So he has actually got that app installed on his machine and he's playing around with it a little bit, gave some bugs for Deepak also. I think what I liked about the thing which Deepak has done is, again, he's keeping the objective in mind, tying back to what you are, right? Probably, I don't know too much. He's playing with it. Still haven't got around to. But I think the way you have thought about it, right? I think it's actually a web application, okay, say, but he's actually wrapped it around as a Windows service and it's a single click exe which will set up the whole thing. And it runs as a service. So every single day, a web server runs, a front end runs. So it is like a web server HTML application, but it's still packaged as an exe which is run. I think it is pretty smart way of looking at it. So when my son installed it, right, it was like single click and all Python packages, everything get in. It's not your classic, let me clone the repo and do it. I think that's really worth mentioning that. And I'm sure having built packages and deployed, I'm sure, Sesh, you would have also done this. Deployment package is a separate project itself. You finished it. And especially like in EXE, if you want to build and deploy dependencies, pulled it together, there were two, just make the deployment. There are projects to do that. Yeah.
Yes. It's like software breaks.
Correct. Yeah. Mm. I think that's a great point. If you have that micro objective and use case in mind, it's a lot more easier to say what is a deviation, right? So then you just have to catch up on the deviation and then just catch up. It's not the whole thing you would have to catch up. That's a very good point. Thanks, Deepak. Thanks, Sesh.